Hello everyone, this is HuskyStarcraft here, back with some more StarCraft 2 Heart of the Swarm action. This time is going to be between Demuslim up in the top right side. Of course, he is on Team EG, as you can see there, and down the bottom left side, it is going to be Blade, which I don't really know anything about Blade. I don't think he's someone who's on an official team or anything like that, but it is going to be one of Demuslim's first Heart of the Swarm games, and I do know a little bit about Demuslim. I've ran into him at several events, and honestly, he is one of the nicest guys, one of the nicest pro gamers I have ever met. He is up there with the likes of Sheth and I want to say Stefano, but we all know Stefano is a big old jerkhead, but hey, that's why we love him as well. But anyways, Demuslim is very, very kind. He's super funny, and he has one of the best work ethics in all of StarCraft 2. As a lot of foreigners out there, as soon as they start losing or not doing as well as they used to, they just kind of give up and kind of fade to the wayside. But Demuslim has always been dedicated to try and play his very best, so I'm always cheering for him. And also, this is some of the first replays of him playing Heart of the Swarm, so we may be seeing some more standard plays out of him, just because he's probably not used to Heart of the Swarm just yet. And in talking to a lot of Terran players out there, one of the things they tell me is when they're learning Heart of the Swarm, they tend to play about the same. They tend to see how it matches up versus the new strategies, and then they slowly start to incorporate the new abilities that they have. For example, the first ability that Terran players kind of hop onto is going to be the booster for the medevacs. I mean, it obviously default spawns with those, and yeah. It's a good thing to kind of start with, and we do have actually a command center going to be coming down here first for Demuslim, so he's going to be going for an expansion build right about now, and I assume he's going to be throwing down a barracks here to finish off this wall in, which I assume that's what this little SCV is here for. Yep, down goes the barracks right there, so going pretty standard stuff. At the same time, Blade going to be going pretty standard as well, going for an expansion first build. So we are going to be seeing a little bit of a macro phase where it's literally impossible for either player to lose here within the next 3 or 4 minutes. Now, there's very few situations in StarCraft where you can safely say that, but going expansion first builds for both players in any matchup basically is guaranteeing us some sort of longer macro game, especially in Blade, already taking a third base here at the 3-minute mark because he spotted the expansion. He knows what his opponent's doing. He's got the Overlord down here. He was able to scout a lot of the map. I mean, look at how much of the map he's already scouted. So he knows 100% for sure that there is no silly shenanigans coming out of Demuslim. And right now, what does Demuslim know? Has he scouted at all? No, he has not. A lot of Terran players will actually start to do this, where versus Zerg especially, you know, Zerg really haven't done that many one-base all-ins in a very long time. So going for the command center first and not even scouting is actually pretty standard, especially you need every SCV you can get when you're going for a third base, which is exactly what Demuslim's going to be doing here, as he does drop down that third command center. Just now upgrading those orbital commands. They're going to be finishing off here, but he will be able to drop a lot of mules here. You can see not even going to be scanning there. As a player who hasn't played thousands and thousands of games like Demuslim, it can be so tempting to go for these early command centers and then scan right away to make sure there's no sort of rush headed your way. But Demuslim knows the metagame well enough. He knows that he's going to be just fine and is actually taking a bit of a risk here, going for the expansion relatively quickly. And yeah, I don't know. Did you guys notice that if you click on the command center there while it's flying towards the mineral patches, it actually does it based on range. So when the command center was here, it was saying he only needs like 10 workers, and then as it got closer, it bumped it up to 24. Just a minor touch right there, which I find kind of cool. So maybe a good way to know if your building is slightly off place. I'm actually not sure, but hey, learning new stuff every day, and that is what I love about StarCraft 2. Now, you do have Marines here going to be cleaning out those rocks. If you're wondering, number one, what these rocks are for, it's to prevent things like pylon blocks and bunker rushes where you can wall them in, especially versus Zerg players. That became kind of an issue, and even the creep kind of fills in the little cracks there. Just a nice little touch there. Again, still learning lots and lots of stuff here for Heart of the Swarm, but either way, Blade right now just going to be macroing up. He's got several drones on the way. I imagine he's just going to continue with that drone production, as that would make the most sense. And yeah, I think so. I also notice how when eggs pop out, there's blood everywhere, which means it has got to be so painful to hatch out of that egg, man. Blood spewing everywhere. We do have metabolic boost on the way, and honestly, guys, I'm getting a little excited here because we are going to be seeing about as macro of a game as you can get. I mean, 3 early command centers for Demuslim. We're seeing Blade go for 3 bases, so he will have to be taking a 4th here pretty soon. And we're actually going to be seeing a factory here as well for Demuslim. as he does have 2 Hellions now on the way, and can easily use these for map control, but neither player opting to go for some sort of crazy timing. Notice that Blade, though, is going to be going for the Roach Warren, kind of hiding it back here for safety. He could attempt to, like, try and wall in right here, but, you know, that does risk being, taking damage from siege tanks, and the reason I say siege tanks specifically is because siege tanks now do not have to research siege mode. They spawn automatically with that, so there's a lot of timings that Terran players can kind of utilize here to really make mech work and to really kind of knock down that entrance. So Zerg players are going to have to adapt, and you got to remember that you know, StarCraft, it kind of reminds me of World War II, where, you know, the first game came out a couple years ago, and then as the years go on, you start to invent new technology and new ways of using those. Very similar to World War II. If anyone studies World War II, which is a fascinating thing to research, don't make the mistake of going onto Wikipedia and searching up World War II, because you will be enthralled for like 3 days and you'll wonder what happened. But that's how I'm going to think of the expansions for StarCraft 2, is that the players have to evolve their strategies, evolve which units they use, and you know, the different maps count as different countries. So I'm going to say it's very comparable to that, but we do have the Hellions going to be backing up right now, and we'll have to raise that depot most likely. No, the Roach is actually going to be attacking the gas geysers here, which is the safest thing for him to attack, but also the less effective, because the Muslim's not going to be hurting for minerals or gas, really. I mean, this is definitely going to hurt him a little bit, because you can see he doesn't have that much gas in the bank, but he can always just produce more and more Marines here. And Marauders cost very little in the gas. But it does look like right now Demuslim going to struggle a little bit to deal with this. Unfortunately, the Roaches cannot get a good angle because the mineral patches are actually acting like a wall here, and the SCVs can easily begin repairing this command center, which is exactly what's going to be happening, although several SCVs are going to get taken out right now. And I'm kind of curious to see exactly how Blade follows this up, because did he do enough damage to be able just to leave right now? I think that he did, although he really wants to kill off these SCVs, maybe kill off some of the Marauders, prevent Demuslim from getting a critical mass of units here. Demuslim really struggling with this expansion, although Blade may have overstayed his welcome, but so far, almost a flawless game here, actually, from Blade, as he's only lost 1 Zergling so far, and will eventually end up losing these Roaches. He needs to back them up a little bit to try and bait those units, although he does manage to get a nice concave here, and the Muslim's got to be careful, because yes, he can kill this up, but is it going to be very cost-effective? It looks like when all is said and done, yes, it is. But the workers killed overall is going to be 6 right now, and units killed 15 to 11, which that doesn't matter as much in TvZ, just because there's so many sacrificial units that Zerg can have. Although Blade really going for the creep spread right now, which I gotta say is kind of cool, although it may be a little bit too late to be one of those like knocking at your front door in 15 minutes with creep type timings. But lots of drones have been created right now, 70 drones and 45 SCVs. Demuslim, even though he has 3 command centers, has had a difficult time in basically constructing exactly what it is he needs as far as macro is concerned. A nice blood streak right there from that Zergling, as the Widowmine able to prevent that Zergling from denying it. And there he goes, landing it right there. Apparently 2 SCVs already on the way. Down they go. Demuslim, though, going to be taking a bit of a risk here, moving out with this army and trying to make something happen here, which I'm not really sure if this is going to be doing too much or not, because there's going to be a lot of Zerglings right now, which means the medevacs are going to have to load up these units, I believe, although this might actually be enough reinforcements here, as Demuslim already has +1/+1, while his opponent is only at 0/1, which is actually a huge timing here that Demuslim may be able to punish. It looks like there's going to be a counterattack down here with the Zerglings. Keep in mind, the Widowmine there takes out every single one at the last second, getting off of its cooldown. So that Widowmine, I believe, up to 5 kills, 6 kills actually, and this army right here is going to be able to kite almost endlessly, but at some point, if he engages that directly, the Roaches are going to be just fine. We do have Baneling Speed on the way as well here. A very interesting choice considering how many Marauders we're seeing out of the Muslim's composition, although the Roaches doing a good job of pushing this back. There's just not a whole lot the Roaches can do right now while they wait for their Glial Reconstitution, which is done in just a matter of seconds, and it does look like the Muslim realizes that upgrade is not done, although now it is. So he's got to be careful, as the movement speed for these Roaches is going to be much, much better. A move speed of 3. So you have to be very careful with that. You can see right there, going to be using the Ignite Afterburner's ability to go ahead and retreat away, and might actually be able to drop the 3rd base down here, which I'm not sure if it's defended or not. Looks like the Roaches are out of position. Even on creep, it's going to take them a while to get back here, which does force the workers away, and returning the favor is the Muslim trying to kill the gas, trying to kill the hatchery, not able to fully commit on either one, but it does look like the army is going to be trapped in the back corner here. and finally able to push this away, but the workers killed overall. Has only managed to kill one, but has delayed quite a bit of mining. The creep spread is going to continue forward here for Blade, although he needs to make sure to get all these creep tumors going, because you can see right here, these two, and actually this third one as well, has not caught up with the big push, which actually slows down your creep push overall. But that is a lot of banelings rolling in unison. Synchronized rolls of death is what those are right now. The drop continues over here on the third base, which means that the fourth base is now going to be the third base, and the hatchery is going to fall. There is going to be a timing right now for Blade. I think what he needs to do is just run in one or two Zerglings here into that Widow Mine. The Widow Mine is going to get a couple more kills in that, but here comes the Banelings right now. That's so many Banelings trying to roll in. Can the SCVs get away? Narrowly gets away in time. Those Banelings trying to commit, but they don't manage to get the big hits. Demuslim going to be running all the way back. Remember that Terran players, oh, nice splitting there by Demuslim. Actually going to be saving the majority of those units here, as he does manage to save the Marines, and that's all he needs to do here, as the Roaches now are going to get cleaned out by those Marines. A beautiful split by Demuslim, and even though he lost the expansion, had to lift it off, he managed to keep the majority of those workers alive. Looks like Demuslim is on an attack of his own, though. His multitasking is phenomenal, although unfortunately not as much multitasking as he would have liked, unloading those units directly on top of the Zerglings, managing to save them, though. Ignites those afterburners and gets on out of there. So I'm kind of curious to see where the dust has settled. It does look like Blade is behind in the units lost, but he does have that fourth base up, and I guess technically working on his new fourth base right now, but he could go for a fifth base as well. I do believe that Demuslim has done enough damage here, though, to kind of allow him to safely transition into the late game. Yes, he doesn't really have that sizable of an army, but neither does his opponent. He's going to be able to heal up these few units up here and continue that drop action, but unless Blade throws down lots of spine crawlers, lots of spores, then the drops are always going to be an imminent threat. We do have the Ultralisk Cavern here nearly completed right there, and you can see him selecting it right when it was about to finish. He wants that chitinous plating upgrade. Remember that the burrow charge on the Ultras no longer exists, as it made them almost unstoppable, but right now we'll see if this is the correct choice. I feel like he may be making a mistake, not going to be going for Brood Lords, but he does have the Spore Crawlers on the way that we talked about to help deny these drops, although really this is the base over here that he wants to protect, because that is the one that the medevacs are going to be going for right now. So what exactly? Whoa, a huge Doom drop coming on through for Demuslim. But I gotta say, Demuslim having a great read in this game, and that he can't sit back and macro up. He knows he has to continue the pressure, continue the pain, and continue those drops. Although unfortunately for him, he may not be able to drop the main base at the same time, as it looks like Blade very wisely going to be splitting up his army here, able to clean up the drop on the left side. It looks like, albeit barely, he needs to reinforce it just a little bit more, and the drop inside the main base has been thwarted just because there's no way he can get past those Spore Crawlers. And the Ultras now are going to reveal themselves, but at the cost of those Marauders. But the medevacs are going to be able to spot this quite easily. There's going to be the drop. Come on through. Ignites the afterburners. He doesn't even care about the Spore Crawlers, because he's just going to unload right away inside the main base, taking a huge risk. But so far, Fungals to the face. The Ultra's getting into position. Even the Spore Crawler is going to be joining in as well. And it does look like Demuslim's drop going to get taken out, although the one medevac full of units does manage to escape here. Demuslim, though, unable to commit, unable to do the damage that he needed to, and that is not going to be very good for him. But does have 3-3 on the way to match the chitinous plating upgrade, as well as the 3-3 on the way for these Ultralists. The Ultras will have a lot of armor, but are not going to be having that +3 attack anytime soon. Both these players, though, taking massive losses here. Demuslim still slightly in the lead as far as the units lost, but is behind in the economy. He does manage to mix in some siege tanks and lots of Marines, so if he can get those good splits that we've seen him do already, then he will be able to dodge those Fungals and the siege tanks as well with the +1 attack. +2 is going to be on the way, but you got to remember that they will do additional damage versus armored units, but you know what's going to be good versus siege tanks is Brood Lords, so we're going to have to see, can the Brood Lords come out in time? I don't know if we ever saw a Spire thrown down. I don't necessarily see one here, but he could. Oh, there it is right there, so he's got to go ahead and throw that down. The transition into Brood Lords is always a good choice here, because you can switch back and forth. You can make Ultras, you can make Brood Lords, you try and get the correct unit composition, and that's how Zerg is supposed to be played, is give yourself lots of options in the buildings and then make the correct decisions, whereas Terran, the transition is going to take much longer, so you have to do damage with the army that you already have. There's not a whole lot of sacrificial units in that army. Yes, maybe you can get rid of some of the Marines. Maybe you can get rid of some of the tanks. We really need to buy time in order to get the units that you need. It looks like right now Blade is going to go for a two-pronged attack here. getting a nice sandwich going on, but he is running into the strength of the Muslim's army. And as Zerg, you do not want to attack into this. That's just how it is, and that's why you're seeing that army completely destroyed. Attacking over here would have been a much better choice because that was completely undefended. But you know what? Zerg players sometimes can get a little antsy. The Fungals, there's actually not enough energy for Fungal. Oh, just the one does manage to land, but it's not going to get any kills there as the medevac count is way too high. Got to be able to heal that army back up to full, and it looks like the Muslim getting the huge swell in a victory that he needed. But at the same time, Blade has a lot of gas income right now. He is at 1,000 gas per minute. Also has the expansion up here with 4 drones mining, so I believe he's mining gas at every base. Just want to double check, see if he's missing any drones on either of these geysers. Looks like the answer is no. Even has one extra one there. Going to be helping to supplement that by quite a bit. So what that means is that was really the sacrificial part of Blade's army. He cannot lose another army. Yes, he lost his army. Yes, it wasn't cost effective, but with the Broodlord tech on the way, with the Vipers now, he is going to get another shot at this. As long as he doesn't allow the Muslim to, to basically sit back and destroy his army like we just saw, as you cannot run your army into that meat grinder again. He's going to have to find ways to use Fungals. He's going to have to find ways to use the Blinding Cloud, and he's going to have to find ways to buy time to get out those Broodlords, because the Muslim most likely will be moving out here relatively soon, I would imagine, unless he just wants to sit back and get more upgrades. I mean, he does have the +3 attack now done. The +3 attack, though, on the Zerglings is on the way. There's going to be that consume ability where you can eat up buildings and get energy. And that's why you'll see a lot of Zerg players throw down extra Evo chambers, because literally this drone's job was to be built into an Evo chamber and then be eaten from the skies, which again, I don't quite understand the science of that, but it don't matter because these Vipers are going to be having lots and lots of energy right now. That's going to be a lot of Blinding Clouds. Abduct will be useful as well, but honestly, microing the army and using Blinding Cloud tends to be a lot more effective here, as yeah, it basically prevents those siege tanks from doing any direct damage, which I gotta say, Blade may be able to abuse that to great effect here, although he did decide to go for more Ultralisk, so it's going to be really, really tough to use that effectively. It's got to come down to the Muslim's micro, as is usual in this matchup, where the Zerg's just going to be throwing everything he's got. The army has been scanned right here, and here he goes. He's got to be careful of the angle right now, though, as the Muslim is in position. The Vipers could throw down Blinding Cloud on the siege tanks, and he does. Those siege tanks not going to be doing anything. The Infestors, though, have got to be so careful. He needs to throw out the Fungals as best he can. It does look like the Zerg army has absolutely crushed through right now, and the Ultras, though, are running up against some resistance. Can they kill off the majority of that army? It does look like the Muslim is back up. The bunker is actually completely unloaded here. Now could be the chance that Blade needs, although he needs to make sure not to run into that planetary. Really should be going for this base right here and the one down in the bottom right side, just to make sure that the Muslim cannot get an economic edge right here. But the Muslim has somehow managed to muster enough forces. The Fungal there, though, has something to say about it. It is going to be intercepting, but guess what's also intercepting is the few remaining Marauders that are killing off the Infestors and the scan right there. Got to be pushing the advancement of Blade back. The supply is still relatively even. Overall units lost is about even, considering that the Zerg players had so many expansions right now. The Queen desperately trying to shoot down some of these Vikings, but unfortunately this is not the Heart of the Swarm opening cinematic where the Ultralisk can just step on the Viking and knock it to the side. But here's the Ultralisk right there, running into a choke point, which you'd think would favor the Zerg in this situation, but it looks like with the Muslim's micro, he's got to be able to take out these Ultras here, as there is no Viper support, there is no Infestor support. The Ultras slowly getting whittled further and further down, and our Zerg player just does not have enough. The Muslim's micro absolutely intense here. Both these players 300 to 400 APM as they are microing like crazy. The Hydra's just in time, though. Got to be able to push that back, snipe some of those medevacs, and allow the Zerg player to recover, to stabilize, and Blade even expanding now to one of the very last expansions here. As so far this game has been absolutely insane, as both these players now going blow for blow. I think the Muslim has managed to hang on. He has managed to kind of reset the game here and actually managed to get himself slightly in the lead, as Blade needs more and more units here. I think Pure Hydra might actually be a good choice here, just because the DPS on those units is insane, but he's only got the +1 attack, and he doesn't have the Groove Spines. I believe he does have the Muscular Augments to allow them to chase down a retreating army, or to be able to retreat much more quickly to that creep, as it does make those Hydras move quicker off of creep. But right now, it looks like the Lings here got to be scouting around. He wants to know, what does the Muslim have, where is his army located, and even what form are these Thors in, because remember, the Thors can transform into a well, it's basically the high impact payload, which allows them to do extra damage versus air units, and so, but singular air units, so Broodlords there can take a lot more hits. We do have the Corvid reactor on the way for the Ravens, going to be giving them some additional energy, as you can see right there, starting energy of Ravens by 25, allowing more Seeker missiles, allowing more auto turrets or point defense drones, although the point defense drones probably not going to be that much of a threat. Here comes the Infestors right now. They want to get some decent fungals off. I don't think they have Neural Parasite, but we do have Broodlords morphing in right now. I don't know if they're going to be here in time, as this is going to be a very tense moment here, as Blade has got to use every single larva he can. He's got 38 larvae here. He needs to spend his money right about now. He has a couple Hydros on the way, but he's going to need a lot more than that. He's waiting for the army to get into position, but it looks like the Muslim is ready. His army is spread. There's the Fungal right there, getting some nice lands on those medevacs. The Ultras here try and do as much damage as possible. Remember, the Ultras, they do the same damage versus everything now, not just armored. So that means that these Broodlords here might actually be heavily protected by these Ultras, and even if it's only 3 Broods, that can delay the push a great deal, although he could transform into the high-impact payload. Unfortunately for Demuslim, he may not even know about the high-impact payload. What are those Thors doing? Are they dancing? They were doing some sort of shuffle over there, but either way, the army is moving out. I think Blade actually getting a little bit premature with this, although the Thors are not in high-impact payload, so these Thors are going to be doing as much damage as possible. The ridiculous Fungals has trapped the army, but is there going to be enough in this army? The Hydros DPSing as quickly as they can, but there is just way too much Seeker Missile coming out from the Ravens. I think the Muslim is actually going to do it. He's going to push into whatever base number this is. We are into like 6-7 bases for these players right now. The Muslim pushing forward. He's got a huge supply lead at this point. It could be even more massive. The Seeker Missile's got to go off, but they may also fizzle out, and it does fizzle out. Unfortunately, it doesn't do any damage when it's rolling on the ground, but the Muslim is in position. There's just not enough reinforcements here. The Infestors are low on energy. They can't even fungal right now, and there's the GG, or the leaving of the game, as the Muslim able to take an absolutely awesome TvZ game here on ladder. I gotta say thank you to the Muslim for getting me this replay. He has not been casted on my channel in a very long time, so it is awesome to see him starting to hop on hard the Swarm. And as I mentioned, guys, 2 very important things. Number 1, if you are watching any of these streams, tell them that Husky wants to cast their games. If you're watching any of these players on Hard the Swarm stream, which a lot of them have started to stream now, then definitely let them know. Be nice, don't spam them. No one likes spam, but I do want to help out these players, get them some exposure, and the teams as well. Team EG, of course, is already one of the best known teams, but hey, a little extra exposure never hurts. And also remember that this is kind of the down season for StarCraft as we go into the release of Hard the Swarm, which is going to be coming out in about a month and a half, something like that. It is very close around the corner. So thank you guys so much to everyone who has been subscribing and commenting and leaving feedback and thumbs up and all that, guys. I absolutely appreciate it. I read through a lot of the comments, so it is always muchly appreciated. So anyways, let's go ahead and cast some more games. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time.